I want to get in here with Kenny Cody. We're on with him, and he has a great new piece out talking about the MAGA race to restore the American dream and that it needs Gen Z to win it. Kenny Cody, walk us through your new piece and the importance of Gen Z to the movement and to the coalition.
Well, I mean, I got this information about something Charlie Kirk said. Before 2028, that's when the next generation is really going to solidify where it's going to turn. And I think they're going to listen to populist sentiment no matter what. They're going to listen to nationalist sentiment no matter what. And whether we're going to go the route of, Bernie Sanders, AOC, Zoran Mamdani kind of populism and promising free things and ensuring people are going to have cheaper rent because we're going to have rent control, or we're going to go down the pathway of J.D. Vance, Donald Trump, MAGA nationalism, and MAGA populism, which is exactly what we need to capitalize on because this next generation is worried about housing. They're worried about sustaining families. And they're even more working class than they ever have been before. That's actually become a problem for all universities. Gen Z is now among the trade, like in trade schools and vocation, more than they ever have been in American history. That means that the next generation is going to be a lot more dependent and a lot more a part of the middle class, which is exactly what we just talked about in the previous segment, that MAGA is still, trying to capitalize on. And now we have a better connection to Gen Z than we ever really have before. When you saw I think it's around 48% of Gen Z actually voted for Donald Trump, even though he lost. It was by a very narrow margin and like almost by like 20 points of what he lost by in 2020 and 2016. When we're seeing that evolution, we now know that Gen Z is the generation that we can count on not only to turn up, but to support the policies, the America First policies, bringing manufacturing jobs back here, having fair trade deals through tariffs, a foreign policy that does not send our boys and girls off to war and our men off to die in endless war overseas. They enjoy this kind of populism because it matters to their lives. They want to stay alive. They want to provide for their families. They want their wives to be taken care of. They want their spouses to be taken care of. And this next generation, mainly comprised of young men, need to be capitalized on as a reliable voter base to create a future for the GOP, because that is what the GOP is going to become. We're a party that is anti-war, that is anti-elitist class, and going to be pro-America First working policies. And that's what we have to concentrate on to get this next generation. They don't like the neoconservative country club Republicans of the Bush and Romney eras past. They enjoy Trump, Vance, MAGA populism. That's what they voted for. That's what they're getting with this administration and what they're going to be voting for come next election. And we have to change in the next 3.5 years, or we're going to lose this generation. The next generation of a voter base is either going to go in the direction of socialism through populism or conservatism and MAGA conservatism through populism. And we need to ensure that it's the right way instead of the wrong way.
And so when you're looking at stuff like this, that's why when I talk about some of these issues, when I talk about why the United States needs to be very wary of getting involved further in Middle East conflicts. Actually, let me ask you. I'm going to ask you, as interview wise, as someone who understands Gen Z, when it comes to these Middle East conflicts, whether it be Iran, whether it be Israel, whether it be Gaza, whether it be Syria, are these things that Gen Z is interested in?
No, I don't think so. I think that there is a basis now, and they're not necessarily like pro or anti any country, right? Like they're not pro-Israel, anti-Israel. They're not pro-Iran, anti-Iran. They're not pro-Syria, anti-Syria, or pro-Afghanistan or anti-Afghanistan. They just don't want America to be involved in war at all. I think they're fine with having allies and having relationships and things like that. But when it comes to just getting involved in foreign wars, putting boots on the ground or bombing countries on behalf of others, Gen Z overall, whether it's on the left or the right, reject the idea that we are going to get involved in Middle East conflicts. They're the same generation that had to sit back and, in 2005, 2007, when their parents were watching the news, they're watching the deaths that are happening in Iraq. They're watching the intervention in Afghanistan failing. They remember when Osama bin Laden got killed in 2011. They're remembering all these events, and they question why we're still involved in all these conflicts. We've had now the Russo-Ukrainian war that's happened in the last few years. We've had the Gaza conflict, and there's not really any part of Gen Z that wants America to be involved in boots on the ground foreign policy like has been done over the last few decades. And I think that this is now an anti-war generation. Now, whether that's on the left or on the right, this generation, if there's one thing they agree upon, is that we don't want more wars. We don't want more conflicts. We don't want more deaths that are being suffered by our generation that's going to be sent overseas, and our children are going to be sent overseas to die on behalf of wars. So I think that this generation inherently just rejects war as a concept. If it's necessary, retaliation, foreign policy, that's one thing. But when it comes to getting involved in foreign conflicts, it's something they holistically reject.
Well, and you look at some of the candidates now that are being embraced, whether it be Zohran Mamdani in New York City, or whether it be this guy, Omar Fattah, who just won the endorsement of the Democrats in the Minneapolis mayor's race, which essentially means, he's well on his way to becoming the next mayor. What do they offer? They offer full on socialism. They offer full on free stuff. They offer, hey, we're going to go to all the white people, take away their stuff and the rich CEOs, and go and take it for. And by the way, can I just say, guys, take the B-roll off for a second. Can I just say something for a second here? Because this is important. All those CEO memes that were going around this weekend, this guy, he had an affair, Coldplay, et cetera, et cetera. Keep in mind that once again, all those CEO memes that were running around this weekend were going viral because leftists hate CEOs. And specifically, they hate straight white CEOs. And once again, right, people are going to say, oh, Posobiec's condoning behavior. No, I'm not. But I'm explaining the tensions that lead to our society being in this situation where it is. If they were not straight, if that was not a white couple, guess what? I guarantee you would have not seen the response that you did this weekend. And call that a thought crime, call it whatever you want. I'm just saying what it is, that's part of the same reason that you're seeing people support Luigi Maggioni, Omar Fattah, and Zohran Mamdani. Kenny Cody, am I wrong on this? Is that the reason? Is there a huge buildup in this country of just sort of anti-CEO, anti-capitalist, anti-affluence, anti-success, and particularly among Gen Z?
I think so. I mean, there was another example, and Jack, I don't know if you remember this or not. Whenever Urban Meyer, well, I think when he was coaching the Jacksonville Jaguars, was caught out at a bar, and like these fraternity girl or these these fraternity girls went up to this coach who's very famous, and it went viral, and it was one of the reasons he got fired from the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's kind of the same thing here, like as these right affluent CEOs or leaders that are inspirational to the youth that are getting lambasted for their personal conflicts. And this guy was in the wrong, without a doubt. I mean, this guy cheated on his wife. He had the confidence to go out and publicly cheat on his wife, and both of them deserve the divorces that are soon coming, and deserve to have their money taken away. But the spectacle that the media makes of it and the memes that become of it, it would not happen to any other race of people, would not happen to any other sexuality of people, any other class of people besides the ones that have been targeted with this particular meme and this particular attack on this dude. And like I said, I don't feel sorry for him at all, just as a person or as an influencer. But when it comes to the class of people that always get attacked, it's always the same rich white men that are getting attacked by the mainstream media because they hate them.